Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome to just another Magic Monday. So every time I sign on here, I have to set up the stream over on StreamYard, and then I have to go and do this other thing over on Instagram. So it takes a little while. It also takes a little while for people to see that we are live. So we're kind of just like these first few minutes are always just like, hey, I'm live. And then people can get the notification, people can come and join, all of that good stuff. So right now I'm just trying to figure out uh, how to see my comments on YouTube. Hey Missy, hi. How you doing? It's nice to see some familiar names. Okay, I think we're good. I think it's working. It's all good. Okay, so just while we're waiting for people to kind of join and pop on. It's always a little bit random doing these lives because most people tend to just kind of come in and out. Like people see that you're live, they click join, they have a little bit of a look at what you're doing, then they go on with their day if they're not interested or whatever. So it's kind of weird because it's like we're hanging out at a festival or something, and people are kind of just like popping by and saying hi and asking questions, getting a card reading and going off on their way, which is all good, totally fine. I'm here for all of it. Hi, Martha. So before I start doing some readings and start talking about stuff, and in this space, like if you've just joined, I can see like some people on Insta at the moment. What I do on these Mondays, I know it's not Monday for everybody, but it's Monday here in Australia. Andrew's here in bed. Hi. So many people watch these lives from bed, or even like watch the replays later. It's fantastic. If you can't sleep, you can just come on the live and get a card, get a reading, get some guidance. So just while we're waiting for people to come on, I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing here, what the point of these lives are. I'm here to pull some cards for you. I'm also here to answer spiritual questions. If you've got questions about things that are coming up for you on your spiritual journey, on your spiritual path, we can talk about anything, everything. Hi, Yo Stardust from Arizona. I love Arizona. I love that part of the world. It's so amazing. So yeah, we're here to just basically hang out, chat. I don't know. We can do whatever we want to do. This is really just like me showing up and saying, hey, do you want anything? Can I help you? Can I serve and support you in some way while I'm here? I don't know. Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe it's no. It's all good. So one thing I wanted to tell you about before I start pulling some cards and sharing all my thoughts on random topics. If you would like to come and join me, I'm running a workshop tomorrow morning. It's on the Cosmic Diamond Violet Flame. And the Cosmic Diamond Violet Flame is just this really very high vibe cleansing energy that you can use to cleanse and clear anything within yourself, within your life. It's really fantastic because not only does it contain the violet flame, which some of you may know, some of you may not. The violet flame is this beautiful energy for transmutation, and we can use it for clearing negative energy or just like stuck energy. I have a friend called Dot Winters she is amazing. She's a Reiki healer, and she has recently been talking about how maybe we need to even stop talking about it in terms of like negative energy and just see it as like something is stuck, something is blocked, something is not moving freely, which I really love that way of looking at it. But basically the violet flame is fantastic for that. And then the diamond ray, if you know anything about the spiritual rays, the diamond ray is the highest ray, and it contains all the other rays. So it's this diamond white crystalline energy that we can tap into that actually contains everything that we need for our ascension journey, for our magical path, whatever path you're on. I know I have people in this community. Some people resonate as light workers, some people are witches, some people are magicians, some people are just spiritual seekers. Some people are star seeds, whatever your thing is. This energy can help you with that. So we're going to do some breath work. We're going to go into a deep meditation. And then we're also going to do a mantra as well that's going to really help with clearing and cleansing the aura, but also with confidence, self-esteem, and prosperity. It's such a good one. So it's $22 US. And if you're like, yes, I want to come, the link will be around somewhere here on my channel, New Age Hipster 333, or you can just go to newagehipster.co and you'll find it there. If $22 is the stretch for you, but you're listening to this and you're like, Vix, I really need to clear something. I really need to shift and clear some old karma, some old energy, negative energy, whatever. We can have a chat, send me an email or a DM, and we can talk about a price point that will work for you. It's on, Kristen's just asked, it's on tomorrow morning. So it's 9 a.m. Australia time, but the replay will be available. So I know it's tough with time zones, and I didn't realize just how tough it was going to be until I moved back to Australia. It's like no one can ever come to anything live. It's really a struggle. So we're doing this today at 12 o'clock. Obviously, there's some people here live, but I know, all my friends in Europe, in the UK, most of them are asleep by now. I know some of them are watching from bed, but it's really it's so difficult to find a time when everyone can meet. So the replay will always be available for you. Okay, let's pull some cards. Let's have a chat. Kristen's got a question about a guy named Dan. Do we have a future? So the way that I like to read, I'm using the Galactic Guides today, by the way. And this is my new Oracle deck that's out. It's out now. I think in the US it's coming out like next week, the week after. It's coming really, really soon. It's so shiny and galactic, and it's amazing. And you'll see some of the cards today. That's with Ellie Grant, the incredible artist, and Rockpool Publishing. So the way I like to read cards is I don't read for the future. I don't tell you what's going to happen. And that's because I really believe so strongly that we have the ability to create outcomes. And I found that I had done this myself many, many times. Many years ago, when I first got into reading tarot, I used to read for predictions, and I would look at, what's going to happen, like, tell me what's going to happen. And there's this story that I tell sometimes when I'm teaching tarot about why I don't really do predictions. There was this guy that I really, really liked. Like, I was really, really into him. We worked together, and I was just like, couldn't stop thinking about him. I was like, he's the one, like, all that stuff that you convince yourself of sometimes. And I did a reading for myself. Actually, I was like reading with the people that I was living with at the time. We were kind of pulling cards for each other and stuff. And, it came out in a reading that me and this guy were going to get together. Like, it was going to happen. And I believed that so deeply that I basically made it happen. And it was this really toxic, terrible situation where I basically threw myself at this at this person because I believed so much that it was going to happen because of what the tarot told me, because of what I saw in the cards. And so what ended up happening was, yes, we did get together. And it was pretty bad. It was not good. It was not a good situation. It didn't lead anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. But it was a fantastic outcome because it made me realize that I had made that happen. And I could have at any point decided that I was going to not make that happen, right? But it was just because I'd seen it in the cards, and I just okay, well, that's my future. So then I started taking all of these different steps to make that happen. And this is what people do a lot with tarot. And I hear this a lot. And I actually did do some predictive readings very early on in my career. I did predictive readings for people. And what would happen is I would tell them, yes, you're going to get a new job. Yes, I see you, leaving your partner, whatever. it was, like I'd give them some kind of prediction, and then they would come back to me and they'd say, "Wow, like you are so amazing. Like you're so on point and your prediction came true and I think you're like the best reader ever." And of course that's really nice for the ego because you're like, "Oh, cool, I'm really good at this." But then the more you sort of study like energy and the more you study manifestation and law of attraction and the kind of deeper you go into the spiritual path, the more you start to realize just how much power you have to create your own destiny. And so that's why I never do predictive readings for people. I always read on like, what do you need to know about a situation? Like, Kristen's got a question. I hope you're still here, Kristen, after all of that. Kristen's got a question about, do we have a future? I'm going to pull a card for you, Kristen, on what do you most need to know about this relationship? Is there anything that you need to be aware of? Is there any message that your guides are kind of bringing through around that? I'm totally going to do that for you. But in terms of, do you have a future? I feel like there are so many different outcomes. There are so many different choices that you could make in any single day that would change the outcome of that. So even here, like sometimes if you're going to do a predictive reading, we talk about this all day because there's so much to it. But sometimes when we do a predictive reading, it's like, well, from this point in space and time, it looks like this will happen. But you could go out tomorrow and you could just like make a completely different decision and go in a different direction. And then that whole prediction kind of just crumbles apart and it no longer exists as like a potential timeline for you to go down. So that's like a really long really long explanation of why I don't do predictive readings, because I think they create a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think, if you tell someone as a reader, yes, this will happen, or no, that won't happen, whether they're doing it subconsciously or consciously, people will kind of start to walk in that direction, whether they realize or not, because somebody that they thought had the power to tell them what was going to happen with their life told them that was going to happen. So I'm here. My job as a reader is to help you create your best and highest life. It's to help you get on your best and highest path. And if there's a challenge, if there's a question, we look into that. I don't even really call myself a tarot reader anymore. I call myself a soul reader, because what I do in my sessions is I connect in with your guides and angels and with your higher self, your soul self, and we have a chat with them about, what do you need to see? What's going on? Like, why are you here? I do a lot of readings on like, what's your life purpose? How can you live your best and highest life? All of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm here for like, let's create it. Let's create it. Let's use the cards. Let's use these readings as a way to like create our best and highest life, not to be told by the cards what we should and shouldn't do with our lives. Because that's, to me, like that is just super old school. And I have friends who read like that. And sometimes I feel like I'm dissing them. And I'm not, because I can see that for some people, the way they read is they give a prediction, but they tell people, look, this is the prediction, but you can do what you want with that. You can either move towards it or you can move away from it. So there can be like an empowering way to work with predictions, but I'm not interested in any kind of reading from anybody else that's going to tell me, Vix, this is going to happen. And I've actually had a really interesting experience where I've had people do predictions for me, but I've never had one that's been accurate. In all the readings that I've ever had from people, even people who were like my spiritual teachers and masters who have done readings for me, I've still changed the outcome of that. So, it can be done. Like you can change the outcome. And this is a really good message too for anybody who's listening to this, watching today. If you've had a reading with someone that told you something was going to happen and it made you feel like you didn't want that to happen, like you wish that wasn't true, take back your power and just say, you know what, I'm going to change that. I'm going to create my own destiny. And this is part of the reason that I love Kundalini yoga so much, which we're not doing yoga today, we're doing card readings. But Kundalini yoga, there's a saying in it that when you work with these breath practices, mantras, the things we're going to do in our workshop tomorrow, but also the physical movement of Kundalini yoga, that you can actually change your destiny, but you can also change your astrology. Like we're so caught up in this idea of I'm a Gemini or I'm a Cancer moon. That's some of mine. And this means I am like this. Here are my boxes to tick. I must act this way because I'm a Gemini, or I act this way because I'm a Gemini, or I'm a Gemini, so I act this way. All of this kind of stuff. And I love astrology. I think there's so much in it. I think it can be fantastic. It can really help be a guide on our journey. But like with everything, it's just a guide. We get to create our own destiny. We get to decide who we are. We get to decide what we do, what action we take. Okay, sorry, that was really long. That was really, really long. Kristen's just asked when, yes, the workshop's tomorrow. I can see a bunch of people have asked about a card. That is amazing. I'm going to just scroll back to some of the first requests. Christian's just asked, where did you get your necklace? I'm not sure which one you mean, but the triangle quartz, if I can speak, is from Rock and Raw Jewelry in the UK, and the other two, I made these. These are actually, they're called tantric malas, and within the beads, within the pattern, is like basically the keys to the universe. It's like every anyway, that's an aside. We could talk about that another time. Okay. All right, Kristen, I'm going to pull your card now, asking what you most need to know about this guy named Dan. Okay, what do we most need to know about this? Okay, so you have Gemini, and the keywords here are versatility, self-expression, and curiosity. And I feel like what's really coming through for you around this guy right now is the curiosity aspect of it. So I feel like your guides are kind of saying, find out more, like get curious, get to know him, but do it in a kind of like, I feel like the guidance here is not to go like all in, like really fast, but it's just to go in slowly and be discerning and like just get to know this person. Maybe you already do know him, maybe you already feel like you know him, but I feel like there are things about him that you don't know yet, and just be curious, but also just go slowly. Like I feel like there's some things about him that you need to uncover, that you need to discover, and that can only be done through a slow process of like just going slowly. I don't know whether you have a friendship with him or whether it's something more already, but it's like building the friendship is what I really feel right now. And if you want it to go further than that, it needs to be based on like a really solid foundation of like a friendship where you actually really love, respect, and care about each other. And then the romantic relationship needs to kind of build from that. So yeah, it's all about, like you asked about, do we have a future? I feel like it's about laying a foundation so that potentially you could have that future. If you want a future with this guy, really laying the foundation, being curious about him, learning what you can about him, really just building that friendship first and foremost. And that doesn't mean that you can't still be in a romantic relationship with someone, but looking at the friendship aspect of it. Okay. I hope that was useful, especially after you had to wait so long for that. Okay, I'm just having a look at the comments. Missy said she had a similar experience around love readings. I think that's regarding like what I was saying about before with the doing predictive readings. It's really, really hard to do a predictive reading on a relationship question, because when I do when I do look at people's relationships, I'm only looking at the person that asked the question. So I can't without permission, I can't energetically look into, what somebody else is thinking or feeling. And that's like a really ethical thing. Like, I think that as readers, we need to make sure that we never look into somebody's energy without their permission. So, if you're asking about Dan, I can't pull a card on Dan unless he was here and he's like, yeah, pull me a card. And so that's why it's hard to do relationship readings, but it's also hard, like when I've done them in the past, even just looking at, what do you most need to know about the relationship? A lot of the time it's kind of like, well, we don't know what the we don't know what the other person's thinking or feeling. We can look at like the general energy of the relationship, like is it good? Does something need changing? All of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's tricky. And it's also like everyone has so much free will when it comes to relationships. At any point, anybody in a relationship can say, you know what, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and walk out. Like at any point. Relationships is like a choice that you make every day to be with that person. And you can decide not to do that, or you can decide to do that. So when you have these two people, these two energies, it's like, every day it just depends. It's like he's still making that choice tomorrow morning to stay together. Anyway, yeah, it's challenging. Missy has a question around what galactic guide wants to come through with a message for me today. Missy's also said Gemini energy coming through strong. I'm also a Gemini. Me too. Gemini sun. It must be, I was going to say Gemini season, but it's not Gemini season. But, something the Geminis want to be, Gemini energy wants to be seen and heard today. Okay, this is a card for Missy, who would like to come through for you today. So you have Cygnus, and Cygnus is one of the star systems. And her keywords are grace, divinity, elevated consciousness, and royalty. And I love this card. Like whenever this card comes up, I feel like it's a real, excuse me, it's a real kind of confirmation to you, for you, of all of the spiritual work that you've done in this lifetime and in past lifetimes. And it's a reminder for you to remember that you are divine, that you are light, that you hold within you the divine consciousness of the universe. It's just kind of like a message from your guides that's like, don't forget who you are. Don't forget that you are divine. Don't forget that you are this, beautiful light being who's just having an experience right now in your human body. And I feel like that reminder is often very needed for us whenever we're kind of feeling like a little bit of the struggle from life on this planet. We know that life here can be absolutely amazing, and it can be really, really tough depending on what's going on in our lives in any given moment. So sometimes it's really nice to just have that message of just like, your guides are with you. They want you to remember who you are. They want you to remember that you're a divine light being, and to keep connecting with the divine within you. Connect with it within you. And the more that you do that, then the more you can move through the world as a divine being incarnated here, who can spread your love and light further and wider, which is so, so needed right now. Okay. So I had a bunch of questions come over on Instagram, and I'm going to read them backwards because I've been rambling a lot. I've been rambling a lot. And the nature of lives is just that people tend to pop in and pop out. And I don't want to like do a reading for someone that isn't here. Hi, Jen. I want to do a reading for someone that isn't here, because then that means that someone who is here may not get a chance to have their reading. So I've got 3 questions here on Instagram, starting from Gassip77. Can I please have some guidance around my business and career? If you posted a question previously to that, please repost it so I know that you're still here, and I will pull a card for you. So this is for Gassip77 around business and career. serious knowledge, training, wisdom keeping, and wisdom teaching. So this is really about learning more, whatever it is that you feel like you need to, where do you need to like upgrade your knowledge is one of the things that's coming through. And that's not to say that you don't already know enough and that you're not already, doing amazing work and doing all of the things that you need to do. But there's just this question around, I feel like you're somebody that wants to, like, you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to keep bringing in more knowledge and more experience into your business. So this just feels like a yes to that. If there's like a course you've been thinking about taking or books you've been thinking about reading, or just, you want to sit down on YouTube for an afternoon and just watch some content around things that you like maybe are not that good at within your career and your business. And we all have those. We all have things that we feel really confident with, and then we have things that we just kind of feel like, that is not my zone of genius. And sometimes we can we can pay somebody else to do that sometimes, but also sometimes there are things that actually it'd be really good if we learned more about that, and if we could kind of level up some of our knowledge in some ways. That's the kind of biggest thing that's coming through, is it's around leveling up some of your knowledge so that you can kind of expand and grow in whatever direction that is for you. I hope that was useful. I hope that resonated. You're so welcome, Missy. That was such a beautiful message. Okay, so this is for who's next? Euphorione Stardust. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I would like a guidance regarding the person in my head. Okay. So you have Taurus, material world, stability, and luxury. So that's kind of an interesting question, kind of an interesting answer to a question around that you were thinking of somebody in your head. I feel like what's really important for you right now is that you feel really stable and grounded. So ask yourself if the person that you've been thinking about, I don't know whether this is like a love situation or something else, does that person help you to feel grounded? Does that person help you to feel more secure and safe in your body? Or do they kind of make you feel unsafe in your body? And I'm going to use this as an example, and it might not be that you're asking about a romantic situation. But one thing you can think about when you are like meeting someone, or it's a new thing that you have with somebody that you've met recently, or you haven't been together for that long, is to kind of ask yourself, does this person make me feel safe, or does this person like make me feel like kind of out of control, like it's the age old thing of like the person that doesn't text you back and you're constantly kind of worrying about it and thinking like the worst, and making up all these like stories in your head, versus the person that does text you back. And I'm going to use this as an example from my own life. And maybe you're not even asking about romance, but maybe somebody else is here on the call or will watch later who has this kind of question. But I remember like when I first met the person that I'm now married to, it was a completely different energy than like everybody I'd been dating like the last couple of years before that, because I was constantly kind of like in this kind of high energy of like, do they like me? What's happening? Like kind of feeling really like unsafe, I guess. I wouldn't have used that word to describe it at the time, but I never really knew where I stood, didn't really know where it was going, like all of that kind of stuff. And then to like have a really positive experience with someone who would just tell you what they were thinking and like text you back straight away, like all of that stuff is like a completely different energy. So that's a question That's like a question for you to think about. If it's a romantic relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's any kind of relationship, like, does that person make you feel safe? Ultimately, we want to be having friendships. We want people in our lives who make us feel safe. They don't stress out our nervous system beyond all of the other stuff in life that's like stressing out our nervous systems, right? We've got social media, we've got all the technology, we've got AI, we've got all of this stuff that is just pressure of life. We've got all of these things that are stressing us out, and really putting us into like flight or fight and stress and anxiety and all this stuff. You really want the people that you're in relationship with to be the safe people, to be the people that actually make you feel like grounded and safe, not the people that are going to like create more of that feeling of like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So yeah, I don't even know if that answers your question by the time I got to the end of that ramble. Okay, let me know if you have a more specific question on that. We can pull another card. So this next card is for Soma Soul Life. If you have posted a question above, I could see a bunch of questions coming through. We had one from Emerald575. We had one from, I think, Sheena Holistic Therapist, a couple of other people. If you're still here, please do post again, because the comments move really fast, and yeah, it's good to know that you're still here before I do a read for you. Okay. Oh, I'm glad that resonated. I feel like I went on such a tangent with that, but I'm glad it resonated. Okay. Right, let me go back. Okay. All right. Okay, I can see the comments have just updated. I can see that your people are commenting. It's like I couldn't see them because they weren't updating. Okay, this is for Soma Soul Life. Should I pursue my Reiki business or follow my community services path? Okay, let's see what's coming up around that, if it's Reiki or something else. Okay, Leo, big-heartedness, fierceness, and boldness. So the thing that I'm getting for you really clearly, really quickly, is that your heart and your light is big enough for both. Your heart and your light is big enough for both. Now, I don't know what that would look like exactly for you, but I don't feel like this is about having to choose something. I feel like it's about knowing that you can be and do more than one thing. And that can be tricky to navigate because, like when I started my business, I was still teaching full time. And I know that it's not always that easy to be multi-passionate. But if you really want to do both, you can do both. It just, that message was so strong, so clear that your heart and your light is big enough to do both. And it's just really, the question is figuring out how to do that. It may be that you do Reiki on the side, that you do Reiki a couple evenings a week for people. Maybe it's that you work part-time on both things. Maybe you do every month you do a week doing Reiki and then the rest of the time you're doing something else. Like, it's just, figuring out what that is to you. But it very much feels like, the answer is you can do both. For the people saying that you're still here, could you please repost your question? Because all the questions have disappeared like so far up the top of the of the chat that I don't know where they are now. Okay, this is for Ash Deadman 87. Okay. People have the best screen names. Okay, you've got Alpha Centauri. This is powerful. Protection, logic, analysis, warrior spirit. So you're here to do some big stuff. You're here to really do some big stuff. And one of your things that you're here to do is to protect other people and stand up for other people, stand up for what's right, stand up for what you believe in, but also be like a kind of like a protector of those who are struggling to stand up for themselves, or those who are marginalized, those who are, you know, not heard by other people. It's kind of like one of your things is that you're here to like help amplify their voices and their experiences. You're kind of like this warrior spirit that's just like here to help, and you're here, I feel like you're really here to help light workers and magical people who haven't yet like fully kind of owned their own power or seen their own power. It's like you're here to like empower people. I hope that was like, I hope that was useful. That felt like a big wave of like, okay, this is for Sheena, holistic therapist. I can't see a specific question, so I'm just going to pull a card for you. Oh, okay. Now all the big energies are coming through now. We have Uranus, revolution, rebellion, eccentricity, and progress. So this is a reminder for you that you're here to do things in a different way, that you're here to be progressive, that you're here to take what has been before and you're here to kind of help it up level and upgrade so that it like works for people now, and so that it helps people who are kind of basically people who are on the ascension path, who are kind of like looking to up level their energy and their experience. That's kind of feels really powerful, like what you're doing for people. But yeah, there's just like this message of like, you're not here to do the same thing that's been done before. I've been thinking about this in my own practice as well, of just how much I've been feeling like, especially with yoga, of just how much like it's easy to find these things, Reiki, yoga. I've done like so many Reiki courses and healing and all this kind of stuff. And we learn all of this stuff. And then we get all these people who are kind of just regurgitating it. And yes, you put your own flavor into it as well. You know, we all have our own flavor to add to this stuff. But there are those of us who are called to kind of not just put our own flavor in, but kind of like energetically upgrade it and energetically like make it higher dimensional, like more higher vibration, so that, you know, the next wave of people who receive that transmission are kind of going somewhere else with it. That's like something that I would probably need to talk about for like 3 hours. But I hope that made sense. I hope that was useful for you. Okay. Mira Labruja, a card around finances. Yes. Okay. Arcturus, strong will, pioneer, forward thinking, change making. So the message here is very much around, if you want to see changes in your financial situation, if you want things to change, if you want things to, most of us want to change our financial situation for the better, no matter, like pretty much everybody I know, everyone I've ever read for, no matter how much you kind of have in the bank, like most people wouldn't mind a little bit more, right? Like we're all kind of wanting to make our financial situation better, no matter where we are. But for you, the message is really that it's about you making decisions that will support the path that you most want to be on with your finances, and that it's very much about you being this forward-thinking, strong-willed change maker to say, you know what, I'm going to change things. You know what, I'm going to make it different moving forward. I'm going to take control of the narrative, and I'm going to look at the things that I can change. We can't change everything, you know, like we can't change, we personally don't have the ability to like change minimum wage, you know, like we can definitely raise awareness about it, we can protest about it, we can do all of that stuff, but we can't, most of us, like, I don't want to say like we can't, because I don't want to put out like, you know, a negative thought form around that, but it's like there are some things that are kind of a part of society's structure that are pretty difficult to shift and change. But we can change a lot within ourselves. We can change our mindset. We can change our actions. There's lots of things that we can do that can help to create that change. So for you, it's all about you taking back your power and you making the change that you really want to see with your finances. Okay. Oh, amazing. Missy's just said in the chat, I just wanted to say thank you for the advice you gave me last week. I used your technique of my higher self talking to another higher self during the full moon, and it was so powerful and cleansing. That is such a good practice. I don't know why like more people don't talk about that. It's so powerful. It's so good. I've done it to clear and heal like the most challenging relationships that I've had with people, and it's just it's amazing. I'm so glad that helped you. Okay. Where are we up to? I can see that Martha's posted on Facebook. Martha, if you're still here, can you please just post again? Because I just want to make sure that people are still here that I'm reading for. Okay, Jen, I would love a card if you feel called, any guidance on my relationship. Okay. So you probably didn't, I'm not sure if you were here when I went on my whole rant about relationship readings. But anyway, your card is Cancer, nourishment, self-protection, and intuition. So the couple of things coming through, it's really important that you protect your energy. And this is true for anybody in a relationship. We still need to protect our energy, even when we're with the people that we're in romantic relationship with. And that doesn't mean that we're protecting our energy from a place of like, oh, I don't want your negative energy around me. But we need to kind of, the thing about energy protection, when you kind of visualize, you know, there's so many things we could talk about with energy protection. But ultimately, it's an intention that we set, whether we're visualizing the shield of light around us, whether we're picking up a crystal and saying, that's my protection crystal, whatever it is that we're doing, we're setting an intention that we are protected. And when we do that, when we set that intention, we kind of say to ourselves and to the energy system of the universe, this is me. This is where I start and end, and that's somebody else's stuff where they start and end. So it's really important that you sort of make sure that you know in the relationship, like what's your stuff and what's their stuff. And in relationships, you have like collective stuff as well. You know, you'll have your stuff together, like in the middle. But I'm feeling very much like, you know, you don't need to take on other people's stuff. You can just deal with your own deal with your own stuff. That's basically the message coming through, is like, you don't need to take on their stuff. You just deal with your own stuff, you know, and you encourage them to deal with their own stuff. And you meet in the middle with, you know, you've got your baggage, they've got their baggage, and whatever. You meet in the middle and you have your relationship. But yeah, it just feels like you don't need to take on their stuff, just focus on your own stuff. But I also feel like a lot of self-care for you at the moment. A lot of self-care, a lot of self-love and self-care is needed on your side, so that you can, you know, things can be even better for all of your relationships. Martha is still here. Okay, Martha, this is a card for you. Pisces, sensitivity, psychic awareness, symbols, and signs. So your message is I love when this starts to happen and there's like a kind of a collective energy within the group of like, what do we need to work on? What do we need to focus on? And so energy protection could be really, really useful for you right now. I feel like you're such a sensitive soul, and I feel like you're picking up a lot. Like the sensitivity keyword on this was just like screaming at me of like sensitivity. And it kind of feels like you're a little bit maybe overloaded right now with information, with other people's thoughts and ideas and opinions. And so your guides really want you to like take some time to kind of come back to yourself, take some time out if you can, if it's possible for you to take some time away from people that are kind of maybe influencing you in in different ways, and take some time off social media if that's somewhere that you spend a lot of time as well, and just come back to yourself and take that time out and work with energy protection practices as well. This was for the person I read for previously, as well. One of the really fantastic ways that we can work with energy protection is to use a crystal. Just like use a crystal. There's so many things you can do for energy protection, but just like wearing a crystal. So I have like a protective crystal. I have like all these bracelets, and they're all from all over the world. They're all from like special moments where I was like, I need to remember this forever. But this one is a smoky quartz, and I always wear that for protection. And when I'm doing readings and I need extra grounding, I'll wear my hematite as well. But just having something, whether it's like a bracelet that you wear or a necklace or even a tumble stone that you just put in your pocket, just like when you have that with you, it's like an intention of like, every time I have this, I know that I'm totally protected and that nothing that's not mine can come into my space. So yeah, so those can be like really like some like really easy ways to kind of work with your energy protection. Okay, let's see. So I think I'm just gonna scroll back a little bit. Yo Stardust, you're still here, aren't you? Yes. Okay. I kind of feel like the comments are kind of like, what is happening with the comments today? Okay, we're going to read for Andrew. Andrew wants to know, when will my abundance of finances kick in? And I can see you've asked later, Andrew, for just like a general message as well. So let's see what comes in. I love this question. When will my abundance of finances kick in? So I've just dropped the whole deck. And that's like an interesting thing when that happens. It's almost like a sign of like, is that the right question? And the guide's trying to tell us something. Okay, let's see. Let's ask for a card around abundance and finances for Andrew. I love this for you. New moon, new beginnings, intention, manifestation, and hope. So that feels really good. That feels like you're asking about when this is going to kick in. Feels like, it's happening. It's happening. Maybe sooner than you realize. But I feel like the real message is really all around you keeping the faith that it's going to happen. You manifesting it, making it happen, and also having hope and holding the vision and keeping that, keeping the dream alive. It's going to happen. Keep believing. Don't stop believing, like, that it's coming and that it's going to happen. And the more you hold on to that, the easier it is for it to find you. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, Yo Stardust. I love a card about whether I'm supposed to keep teaching or start a spiritual business. I love this question because this was me like 10 years ago. I used to be a teacher, for anyone that doesn't know me or doesn't know that. I used to teach a lot of different things. Drama, English in high school, and I also used to teach children with autism. I was an autism specialist teacher for a while as well. Okay, so I have the same card for you. I don't know if you saw when I was shuffling, but one of the cards kind of like went like that when I was shuffling. And I could see that it was the same card that I just pulled for Andrew. And then I shuffled and I pulled the card and it's the same card again. I love when that happens. I love when you question it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that is that card. And then it comes out again anyway. So the new moon, new beginnings, intention, manifestation, and hope. So I feel like the question is less around whether you're supposed to do anything and more around what you feel you're being called to do. So running a spiritual business is a calling, and that's kind of like a weird thing to say in a world where every second post on social media is like, make 7 figures doing running your spiritual business. Like, just, run a spiritual business and you'll be a millionaire by Christmas. And people are doing it in that way, and that's their path, I guess. But for me and most of the people that I've worked with, and I used to run a spiritual business mastermind as well that, talked to a lot of people running spiritual businesses when I was doing that. But for most people, it's a calling. And you always have the choice when you get a calling. You can pick up the phone and you can answer and you can say, yes, what do you want? What do you want me to do? Or you can just let it ring out. And so it's totally up to you. I feel like it's less about what you're supposed to do. It's more about what your heart and soul wants to do. Because if you really feel called to it, then, it's something to pursue, whether or not you want to go all in tomorrow with it, or whether you just want to kind of ease in and see how it goes. I ran my spiritual business as a side hustle for like good couple of years, while working full time. And then I went down to, once the business started to take off and I started to, make some money out of it, I went down to working 4 days. And then I had my one special day. And I was also doing, I was working in evenings, I was doing weekends, I was hustling pretty hard. But then I had this like one day where every week I would just be like, yes, I'm just going to go for it and do stuff for my business. And then, slowly after that, shortly after that, I ended up going full time. But you don't have to make a decision. This is for anybody try and make a decision like this. It doesn't have to be like an all or nothing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I think I'm getting this calling to run a spiritual business, so now I have to just walk away from everything and everyone and go and do that. You can just ease in and you can try it out. You can ease in and you can try it out, put some social media up, make a blog and see how it goes, see what happens, see if people are picking up what you're putting down. And see how it feels in your heart and soul to be doing that. And if it feels really good and it feels like something that you want to keep doing, then you keep doing it. But yeah, there's always just like it's not about what you're supposed to do. It's about what your soul is calling you to do, what your heart is calling you to do. Okay, so we are getting close to time. So I really want to make sure that I'm so glad. I'm just seeing in the comments like people saying that they resonated, which is amazing. We have a question from Nat and her donuts. If you're still here, please just post a comment below. If anyone else is still, if anyone else hasn't had a read yet, but you've commented previously, please just repost your question. And I'll try and get as many done as I can in our last 5 minutes together. And while I'm just waiting for... Soma Solaf just said this answers my question too. Yeah, it's like I have so much to say about that, which is why I used to run the spiritual business mastermind, and I also used to do spiritual business mentoring for people who were starting their businesses. And I kind of have been waiting for the calling to. It's like spiritual business is just like one calling after another. I've been waiting for the calling to kind of decide if I should do that again, but I feel like maybe this has been, people are in that situation and they might want extra support with that. Uh so yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's like people get so stressed out about it. People are just like freaking out that, oh my gosh, I got this call. I think I'm supposed to do spiritual work. I have to like, maybe it's like a past life thing of, all the past lives that we had where we got the calling and we had to leave like society, and we had to go live in caves and monasteries and like, go live in the temple, all of that kind of stuff. But it's not like that in this lifetime. Like, we don't have to give up our whole life to do spiritual work. It's like, if you're feeling called to do it, make an Instagram account, start posting about stuff and see how that feels, see how that goes. When I started my business and I was working full time, I used to do like card of the day, and I'd drive to work like a couple minutes early. I'd sit in the car and I'd spend like 5-10 minutes doing a card of the day on Instagram. And then I'd go, I'd go to my job for like the day. And then after work, in lunch break, I'd be checking the comments, replying to people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like, you don't have to give up your whole life, and you can ease into it. And that's true for any side hustle that you're trying to kind of come up with. Like, I started a business on the side of a full-time job. I wrote 3 novels on the side of running a business. Like, it's not always easy to do that, but you can. Okay. This was a question for Nat and her donuts. Okay, this is about life purpose. Okay. Life purpose question for Nat and her donuts. Okay. Oh, okay. I love this. So we've got Alpha Centauri again. Protection, logic, analysis, and warrior spirit. So again, part of your life purpose here is really actually what I'm getting for you is a little bit different from the last message that we had with this card. And it's more about your purpose is to find your power. Like, your purpose is to find your power. It's almost like like your soul is this really high vibrational, full on like warrior spirit soul. And you've incarnated into like a human body, and you've had experiences in your life that have made you feel like completely powerless. And the whole point is like, can you reclaim your power? Can you feel powerful in your life? Can you feel powerful in a human incarnation? It's like it's almost like your soul wanted to have this experience because it knew that it would make you so much more powerful. When you go back to spirit, you'll be like even more powerful as a light being than you ever were before. And that's a huge part of like what we're doing here. Like, we come here and we're always talking about like soul growth and like ascension, blah blah blah, but ultimately we're having this experience here on earth because it's an amazing way for us to, as light beings, as star beings, whatever we are, angelic beings, when we come to earth and we put ourselves really through this initiation process, these like all of these tests and trials that we face, and then we depart and we go back to wherever we go, we are so much stronger. We are so much lighter. It's just like amazing. It's like an accelerated growth school being here on earth. It's like this amazing acceleration opportunity for like ascension acceleration. So I hope that was like kind of a really big message for you. But it's like, for you, a big part of your purpose is all about power. It's all about reclaiming your power, finding your power. How powerful can you be in this lifetime? And that's power. It's like we talk a lot about power, and it's kind of a difficult one for a lot of people because power is often so caught up in how we see powerful people in society, like people who are calling the shots, people that are like rich and successful and whatever. But your spirit, just like your spiritual power, is totally different than that. It's so much more than that. Woo! Okay. So I hope this was useful. I hope everyone who was here watching got something out of it. I absolutely loved connecting with you today. If you would like to join me tomorrow for a workshop, we're going to do breath work. We're going to go into a deep healing journey and meditation. We're going to light temples. We're going to meet with ascended masters and angels. We're also going to do that mantra, which is one that I've just been chanting around the house because it's so good. So yeah, if you'd like to join, the link will be around somewhere. If you can't afford the cost, it's $22 US. If that's too much for you, but you really feel called to come, just send me a DM and we can make it work for you. We can get you a price point that feels good, because I would love to have you there if you feel called to come. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, and I am sending you all so much love, and I'll see you next week. Lots of love.